Hi, we're going to do a Swiss ball workout today. This is going to run about pretty close to an hour, and it's a mix of spine stabilization, shoulder stabilization, a lot of core work, some stretching, and some good range of motion. So you just need a Swiss ball, and that's it. So we're going to start out on your back, and you just need to have a decent amount of room front and back here. To raise your arms overhead and to be able to reach your legs all the way out. But we'll start out on your back with your feet up on the ball. So once you get your feet up on the ball, I want you to pull it all the way in so that your legs are resting all the way up comfortably on the ball. It's pretty close to your seat, so you can really just let everything relax there. And then just take a minute to let your shoulders roll open, lengthen the back of your neck, and just let everything melt down into the floor. And we'll just leave hands resting on your stomach. So try to let the legs go here. Sometimes you kind of hold on, but once your legs are up there, you should be able to just kind of let go. And then we're just going to start with some breathing and range of motion. Some breathing and range of motion. So on an inhale, I just tilt the pelvis forward to get a little arch under the low back. And then exhale, tilt the pelvis back, flattening your low back towards the floor, drawing the ribs down. And then inhale, create that space under the low back, and exhale, use your stomach muscles to flatten the low back towards the floor. Here's where you'll notice if you're really trying to grip and do it with your legs. Let your legs go, make your stomach muscles do the work to flatten your low back. And again, inhale, tilt the pelvis forward. You're getting that arch under the low back. Exhale, tilt the pelvis back, flattening your low back to the floor, dropping the ribs. One more time, inhale, tilt it forward, get that space. And then exhale, just draw back to neutral. So in neutral, you've turned those stomach muscles on, your pelvis is nice and level, you're gently drawing the ribs down towards the pelvis so abdominals are engaged. Good, and then take both arms straight up overhead. So we're going to hold on to neutral, and then just take one arm overhead and see how far it goes without losing your neutral spine. So no space building up under the low back, no flare of the ribs, and then bring that arm back to the ceiling. And then other arm overhead, same thing, just noticing when those ribs want to flare, when the muscles pull tight, and then bring it back up to the ceiling. And one more time with the right arm, staying in neutral, keeping the abdominals engaged, and back to the ceiling. And one more time with the left, making sure the back doesn't arch, the ribs don't flare, and back to the ceiling. Now do both arms together, sending both arms overhead as you exhale, keep drawing the rib cage down, and then bring it right back up to the ceiling. And again, both arms overhead. Don't let the ribs flare. And back to the ceiling. Just one more here. And you might not get all the way back. If you get here, and if you go any further, those ribs start to flare, then you're done. That's your end. And then back to the ceiling. And actually, let's do one more. Exhale, arms overhead. And inhale, back to the ceiling. Pause right here and just let those arms open up like a T. And relax and just melt down into the floor. Just letting the chest open up a little bit here. Good. So now just bring your legs a little bit out away from each other on the ball so they're a little bit wider. And we're going to do a little trunk twist. So on your next inhale, let both knees start to twist towards the right, only as far as you feel like you're not going to lose the ball there. Exhale, draw the left rib cage down to start the abdominals working to pull you back to the center. And then next inhale, both legs go towards the left, keep the right shoulder down. On your exhale, the right rib cage starts to pull down towards the floor as you fire your abdominals, knees come back center. Inhale, as both knees go to the right, eyes look left, left shoulder stays down. Exhale, firing up your core to bring you back to the middle. And then again, inhale as knees go left, eyes look right. And exhale, you're using your stomach muscles to pull the right rib cage down to start the motion back to the middle. One more time to the right. And back center. And then one more time to the left. And back center. Good. Bring both arms up to the ceiling and then let them both rest down by your side. Good. So now walk your heels up onto the ball and then push it out a little bit. So we've got about 90 degrees here at the hips, 90 degrees at the knees with your heels resting on the ball. So once we're here, your arms are going to stay down by your side and then recheck that you're still in neutral spine. And again, there's a little more leg work here to hold on, but I don't want you to feel like it's your legs holding you here. Your heels are just resting on the ball, your core is firing. And now on an inhale, you're gonna let those legs take the ball out. Exhale, fire up the core, pull those knees back in. Good, so let the ball come out and pull back in. So we're trying not to change anything in the spine. We're just hinging at the hips as the ball goes in and out. And then if you can, when you pull the ball in, you can even hinge a little bit beyond that 90 degrees if your hips are mobile enough. If you can do this without flattening the low back. And send the ball out and back in. And 2 more like this, out and in. And 1 more time, out and in. Pause right there. Send both arms back up to the ceiling. So now we're going to do the arms and the legs together. So let's go on an exhale just to help us fire the core. So on an exhale, arms go overhead as you push the ball out, and then inhale as you come back together. So we know as the arms go overhead, they're trying to flare the ribs. As the legs go out, we don't want to let that back arch and pull everything back in. So we're just firing up the core to get ready for the harder exercises we're going to do. Couple more here, reach away and pull back in. And 1 more time, reach away and pull back in. Leave your arms down by your side, press the ball back out. Good. So once we start this, you might want to adjust and bring the ball a little closer, but you can play around with what feels good because we're going to go into an articulating bridge. So legs are straight, arms are down by your side. Stay here and inhale. Exhale, tilt your pelvis to flatten your low back towards the floor, and then leading with your tailbone, peel yourself up to a bridge. Pause here at the top. We're trying to get a nice straight line from your shoulders out through your ankles. Stay here and inhale. And then exhale, drop the rib cage first, and 1 vertebrae at a time, lay your spine back down onto the floor. Coming all the way down and then back to neutral. Inhale first, and then exhale, tilt your pelvis. Leading with your tailbone, feel each vertebrae lift off 1 at a time. Pause at the top, inhale. Exhale, drop your rib cage, and then 1 at a time, you lay your spine back down. So if this feels too hard on the legs, you can pull the ball a little bit closer. It'll just be a little bit easier. Same thing, inhale, and then exhale, tilt your pelvis and roll yourself up. So you want to feel your core firing here to keep this connection rib cage to pelvis, but there certainly is a lot of work through your glutes and hamstrings to hold you up here. What I don't want you to feel is a lot of tension in your low back. It's easy to just kind of do that and hold yourself up, and you're going to feel it back here. But we want to keep the core engaged. So the core is working, the backs of the legs are working to hold you up. Stay here, inhale, and then exhale, 1 vertebrae at a time. Roll yourself all the way down. Inhale first, and exhale, tilt your pelvis. Peel yourself back up. And let's pause here for a moment. So we're trying to get that straight line from your shoulders out through your toes. And there's a little bit of a balance work here just to hold on. We're going to just work with that for a second. So just bend your elbows to take your forearms off the floor. It's not a huge difference, but it's a little bit harder to hold. If you feel stable here, you can slowly send your arms up towards the ceiling. And just in taking those arms off the floor, it's a lot more work to stabilize. So maybe that's too much, you can always bring your arms right back down. If you feel pretty good here, slowly send your arms overhead. Let's stay here for 1 more inhale. And exhale, draw the ribs down. And 1 vertebrae at a time, start to roll yourself down. Feel how those arms are going to lift it as you pull the ribs down and bring yourself right back to the floor. Good. Go ahead and pull that ball all the way back in. And you're going to take the ball in your hands. So use your feet to get that ball to your hands, and then just let it rest right on your stomach. So once you're back here, come back to feet hips width distance apart. The ball's resting on your stomach, and you're starting here in a pretty neutral spine. So maybe just do a little inhale and exhale to check that out, and then come back to neutral. So this isn't a lot of arm work here. You're just kind of using your fingers to roll the ball up. We're just going to do a little half roll up here. So inhale first. And then exhale, you're going to start to curl up and just roll that ball up to the top of the knees. Pause here as you inhale, and then exhale, roll yourself back down. Inhale first, and exhale. Draw the ribs down towards the pelvis as you curl up part way. Stay here, inhale, and exhale, lower yourself all the way down. And again, inhale first, and exhale, curl up part way. Stay here, inhale, and exhale, lower it back down. Good. So if you have any problems with your low back where flexion is not really indicated for you, or if your abdominals, like if this is just the exact right level of exercise, then stay right with this one. Or we can take it a step further, move your feet out just a little bit further. This time we're going to roll up and over the ball, up and over the knees. So inhale first, and then exhale. We start the same way, but then we keep going, that nice smooth motion. Ball comes towards the ankles. Inhale as you start to roll back, staying rounded. Exhale, keep tilting the pelvis back and roll down with control, landing with the ball right back on your stomach. Inhale first, and exhale, roll the ball up and over the legs. And inhale as you start to come back, and exhale, following the shape of the ball as you roll down slowly with control. So I'm not really using my arms to get the ball up. I'm not pushing it up. I'm just rolling up and it's rolling along the thighs. Inhale first, and exhale, roll it up and over. Inhale as you start to roll back, and exhale all the way back down. And we can even take this one step further. Take the ball up towards the ceiling. So on this one, again, if flexion isn't a good idea for your back, you're going to just do this part. On an exhale, you're going to send the ball overhead, just like we did earlier, but the weight of the ball just makes it that much harder. And then inhale back to the ceiling. You can stay here and just do this arm piece. Exhale, inhale to the ceiling, or you can roll up from here. Exhale, roll all the way up. Inhale, stack yourself back up. So we're coming up to seated in neutral. And then exhale, one vertebrae at a time. Roll yourself down, and the ball goes overhead. Inhale to the ceiling, and exhale, roll all the way up. Inhale, up high, and exhale, one vertebrae at a time. Roll yourself down, ball goes overhead. Inhale to the ceiling, exhale, all the way up. Inhale, stack yourself up, and exhale all the way back down. This last time we're just going to go up and stay up. Inhale, ball to the ceiling, and exhale, roll all the way up, and then just place the ball down, and we're going to come right behind it. So you do need a little bit of room out in front of you. So we're going to start with the ball right in front, and then just lay up and over it. So depending on how big your ball is, you may need to prop your feet a little bit to get all the way up, or you might be comfortable just with your knees on the floor. But I want you to feel like you can get up onto the ball. And then for starters, we're not having our hands on the floor here. We're just going to have our hands resting down as if they're by your side. So you do have to hold them up just a little bit. So on an inhale, just roll the shoulders slightly. And then exhale, lengthen and lift just a little bit. It's not a big back extension that we're doing. We're just trying to fire up all those extensors to start with. Fingertips are reaching back beyond your sit bones. Stay here, inhale, and then exhale, roll back down. Inhale, roll the shoulders open. Exhale, lengthen and lift. Hold it here as you inhale. The neck is long, so you're still looking down at the floor, and then exhale, lower back down. Just one more. Inhale, roll the shoulders open. Exhale, lengthen and lift. Stay here, inhale, and exhale, lower down, and then place your hands on the floor. And you might need to shift forward a little bit. Good. So it's like we're doing regular hands and knees exercises. So your legs aren't going to be out straight here. You're going to let them bend softly. And again, some of you might have your knees on the floor. I have to tuck my toes under a little bit to hold on. So I can float my hands up here because my weight's really down on the wall. I don't want you to get so far forward that you're really tense with your upper body. So we're starting here in a pretty comfortable position. I'm trying to get a nice long spine. Even though I'm on my stomach, I'm still thinking about connecting ribcage to pelvis, so my abdominals are firing. So first thing, holding here in the middle. I'm just going to raise the right arm out in front. thumb points up towards the ceiling, and place it right back down on the floor. And then left arm, thumb towards the ceiling, and right back down. One more each, right arm first, and down, and left arm, and down. Good, pause here. Now we're gonna do one leg at a time. So right leg is gonna reach out. Once I reach it, I do straighten it out, and back down, and left leg reach, and back down. So I am trying to find that glute, so my right glute to extend the hip to lift that leg out, and back down, and then left glute to extend that leg back and down. One more each of those. And it doesn't need to be really high. We're just trying to find that glute to extend the hip. If you lift too high, you really arch the back and you lose the point of the exercise. And back down. Good. So now we're going to go back to the right leg and then reach the left arm out in front. And just pause there as you find your balance. And then lengthen back to the floor. And then other side. And back down. So staying connected, ribcage to pelvis. Finding the muscles on the back side to lift the arm and to lift the leg. Every time you lift the arm, think about that lift coming almost from the bottom of the shoulder blade. Sometimes we think about it coming from the neck, but we're trying to keep the neck pretty relaxed here. Shoulder blade slides down the rib cage as the thumb lifts to the ceiling. Good. And we're just going to do one more each. Opposite arm and leg lifting. And last one. Good. And then you can let yourself kind of roll over the ball for a second. And then come right to your knees. Good. So in this position, we're going to do a quick hip flexor stretch. So let's take the left foot and bring it in front. So we're just coming to a little half lunge here. And then keep the ball off to the right here. Your right hand can rest on the ball. So we have 90 degrees at the left hip and the left knee, and then we're up on that right knee. From here, just slightly fire your core to tuck that tailbone under to help us catch the stretch in the front of the right hip and thigh. So I'm not coming way forward and letting my back arch here. I'm staying upright, pulling the belly in so I can catch the hip flexor right across the front of the right hip. Once I'm here, then I can shift forward a little bit to make a stronger stretch, but not too far, because I don't want to let my back arch here. I want to keep that pelvic tilt. Good. So I'm going to hold it here, and then I'm going to pull the ball over to the left side. Let my left hand rest on the ball. Right arm's going to come up towards the ceiling as I inhale. Exhale, side bend towards the left, pushing that ball out a little bit. Just getting a deeper stretch now through the front of that right hip and through the right side, and then come all the way back up. And again, inhale, arm to the ceiling. Exhale as I side bend towards the left, and then all the way back up. One more time. Inhale, right arm to the ceiling. Exhale, side bend, pushing the ball out, and then inhale back up and releasing my arm. Good. And then I'll switch legs. So now I've got my right knee in front, 90 degrees at the right hip and the right knee, and then I'm going to tuck my tailbone under here to start to catch the stretch on the front of that left hip and thigh. And then I've got my left hand just resting on the ball for a little bit of balance. And then just slightly, I'm going to shift forward, holding that tilt so that I can catch the stretch through the front of that left hip and thigh. Good. And then I'm going to bring the ball around to the other side, just as a little placeholder for my right hand. Left arm comes up to the ceiling, and then exhale as I side bend towards the left, or towards the right, pressing the ball out with my right hand. Inhale back up to the ceiling and exhale, arm down. Inhale, arm up. Exhale, side bend. Inhale up and exhale down. One more time. Inhale, arm up. Exhale, side bend. And then back up and all the way down. Good. So now I'm going to take that ball back in front, and we're actually going to come up to sitting. So I'm going to go sideways so you can see. But once we come up to sitting, I'm going to make sure here that the size of the ball is pretty important here. If the ball's too short and you're sitting down low, your knees are going to be up higher than your hips, and it's really hard to find a neutral spine there. So hopefully you have a ball where you can sit up a little bit. You've got at least 90-degree angle at your hips. Your knees are bent 90 degrees, feet are hips width distance apart, all of our toes pointing straight forward. And I'm not exactly on the top of the ball, I'm just a little bit to the front. So first thing, we're gonna do that same range of motion of the pelvis. So I'm gonna inhale first, and then exhale, tuck my tailbone under, use my stomach muscles almost to pull that ball underneath me, flattening out my low back. And then on an inhale, I'm gonna tilt my pelvis back, getting a little arch in the low back. Exhale, using my stomach to pull the ball underneath me. And then inhale as I press my sit bones into the ball and press it back, getting a little arch in my low back. And again, exhale, pulling the ball underneath me using my stomach muscles. And inhale, press back, and then just draw back to neutral. So in neutral, ears are stacked over shoulders, over hips. So if I do a little bounce, everything just stays stacked right up over itself. So I'm still gonna keep firing through my core here. And then we're gonna do just a single arm raise towards the ceiling and down, just like we did on our backs, and then other arm. And again, if my shoulders are tight, once my arm gets to that point where these muscles are pulled tight, the ribs are gonna try to flare. So I don't want you to move into that motion. So whenever your arm needs to stop to keep your ribs stable, then that's where it stops. And back down, and then same thing with both arms up and back down. Good, so now we're gonna go to the legs. Just lift the right heel and down, and just the left heel and down. You can always come back to just the heels if the next one's too hard, because next time we're gonna lift the right heel and then float the right knee up off the floor and down. Lift the left heel, and then the whole foot comes up as you lift the left knee and back down. Lift the right heel, and then the whole foot and down, and the left knee, the left heel, and then the whole foot and back down. One more time, the right knee and up and down, and then the left, up and down. Now we're gonna add opposite arm with that. So when I lift up the right knee, I'm also gonna lift the left arm and down, and then the left knee and the right arm and down. So just moving nice and slow and steady. And I'm trying to move the hips and the shoulders without anything changing through my spine or through the pelvis. So this is just slow and steady, working on that stability. This isn't a big, dramatic movement. And I'm just gonna do one more each. So this is a good one again to come back to if any of the other ones aren't working for you, because this one's always good. Good. All right, so we're gonna stop here. I'm just gonna back up a little bit because I need a little bit more room here. So we're doing another one now where we are doing some flexion through the spine. So again, if that's not indicated for you, stick with those opposite arm and legs that we were just doing, because we're gonna do plenty of other bridging later in the program. So you're gonna start here with an inhale, exhale, tilt your pelvis just like we did earlier, and now you're gonna roll yourself out so you end up in a bridging position with your head and shoulders resting on the ball. You wanna make sure your head landed on the ball, that it's not hanging out back over there. So this should be just comfortably resting here. We did have to open up our hips a lot to get here, so hopefully you have the range of motion for that. Staying connected ribcage to pelvis, just like in our other bridges, so the low back doesn't have to work real hard to hold you up. Core is firing. Now we're gonna roll right back up, so stay here and inhale. And then exhale, you do start to push with your legs, lift the head and shoulders, keep drawing the ribs down towards the pelvis and roll yourself all the way up. Inhale first, and exhale, tilt your pelvis, and one vertebrae at a time you come down, keeping those hips lifted so you land up in that bridge. Inhale, and exhale, roll yourself right back up. Inhale here, and exhale, draw that ball underneath you, and roll yourself down, and let's pause here. Good, so I'm gonna bring hands right back to the hips. I'm making sure that my knees are stacked right over my ankles, my head and shoulders are stacked right over the ball. I'm connected ribcage to pelvis, and yes, glutes and hamstrings are working a lot here. So from this position, we're gonna do a bridge. So I'm just gonna crease the hips and drop them down towards the floor, and then I fire up those glutes and come right back up to that bridge. Drop the hips down, and then fire up those glutes to come right back up. I need to relax my glutes to let me down, and fire them up to come right back up. Just 4 more, down and up, 3 more, down and up, 2 more, and up, last one. Good, so at the top here, recheck, straight line from the shoulders out through the kneecaps, a little energy just holding the knees together here so they don't splay out. All 4 corners of your feet pressing down into the floor, core working hard, glutes firing. Bring your arms back up to the ceiling. Stay here, inhale, and then exhale, roll yourself all the way back up. Good. All right, so now we're going to come back down to kneeling again. This time I'll face forward so you can see. So in this one, we're going to pull the ball in nice and close. Send the right leg out. So it's like a gate pose in yoga. You're pressing down through the left knee, shin, top of foot. The outer border of the right foot is reaching towards the floor. So there's a little lift here on that right inner thigh. We're going to start with the left hand just resting on the ball and pulling that ball in pretty close to the left thigh and hip so you feel connected. Good. So for some of us, just getting here might be a huge stretch here, so you might skip this first part and just hold on to this position. Otherwise, you're going to let your right hand rest by your knee. Inhale, left arm comes to the ceiling. Exhale, start to walk those right fingertips out that right leg as you side bend towards the left. Stay here, inhale, and exhale, come all the way up, and then pull that ball back in against your thigh, and now you're going to let your left forearm rest onto the ball. This is going to take away a little bit of that stretch you just had on the right inner thigh. So you're pressing through the left shin, you're pressing that left forearm into the ball, but it's kind of just resting there. Don't work too hard here. You don't want to let yourself sink into that shoulder, so you've got to press away and tug that left shoulder away from your ear. So just this is some work, and you're going to start to feel how your left hip is really working to hold on here as this gets harder. You can always come back to just holding this position. Both hip bones are pointing straight forward. All your toes are pointing straight forward. The toes not turned out, pointing straight forward, and you're still lengthening through the outer border of the right foot. Good, so keep pulling the left shoulder away from your ear. I'm going to go hands to the hips to help me remember to keep my hip bones pointing straight forward. Now I'm going to try to float that right foot off the floor and then bring it right back down. And again, float it off the floor and right back down. 2 more, float and down. 1 more time, float and down. So you can always, again, come back to just this basic up and down, or you can bring it up and hold it and pause here. So left hip is working to stabilize here. I'm still pulling that left shoulder away from my ear. Both hip bones pointing forward, core is firing. You really need the core to fire here to help you hold on. Now I'm going to pull that right foot slightly forward and then slightly back. Not a huge motion here, because if I come too far forward, I'm going to lose my neutral spine. And if I go too far back, I'm going to extend the spine. So it's nice and small, but you are trying to keep that right foot the same distance from the floor the whole time. It's not dropping and lifting, but it just stays hovering above the floor as you move forward and back. 1 more time. And back to the center. Hold here, point your toes. Tiny little circle, forward and back, forward and back. 2 more. 1 more. Pause here and then reverse it back and forward. Only 3 more. 2 more. And 1 more. Hold here and then place your foot back onto the floor. Now we're going to come right up and over the ball. And again, depending on the size of your ball, this might look different, but you do want to get up to where that left hand rests on the floor. And see how I am pushing off with that right leg a little bit? And then I'm going to let my right arm just come up and over. So a nice side bending stretch through the right side. And then once you're here, you might do just a slight rotation towards the floor or a slight turn upward back to the center, and then come all the way back up, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. So now I've got the ball right up against my right hip, and I'm going to send my left leg out to the side. So it's as if my foot and my knee and the ball are all on a balance beam. I'm in a nice straight line. I'm pressing down through my right knee, shin, top of foot. and I'm trying to work the outer border of my left foot towards the floor. That's gonna help me get a little lift here of this left inner thigh and knee. I don't wanna let my knee collapse here, that just doesn't feel good. So that working the outer border towards the floor helps a lot. Good. So first I'm gonna let my left hand just rest by my side. Right arm's gonna come up towards the ceiling, and then walking my left fingertips out, side bending towards the left. Stay here, inhale, and exhale, come all the way up, and then bring that ball back in. Right forearm rests on the ball. So we've just sort of unloaded that left hip a little bit, but the right hip has to work a little bit. Pull the right shoulder away from your ear. So there's a lot of stabilizing work going on right here. We don't want to let this shoulder creep up towards our ear. So you got to keep pulling your shoulder away from your ear. Hip bones pointing straight forward. And now you do shift slightly towards the ball so that you can float that left leg off the floor and then right back down. And again, lift and down. Just 3 more. Float and down. 2 more. And down. 1 more time. And down. Now you can always come back to just the up and down, or you're going to bring it up and hover, and now pull it forward and back. So you're trying to keep it the same height from the floor the whole time, and just know that as you extend it, it's tempting to arch your back, but you want to keep the core firing so that your spine is stable, just the hip is moving. And the second side always feels a little harder, I think because you were stabilizing on that first side first. Good. 2 more times. Forward and back. Remember the right shoulder. We're not going to sink into the ball. And back and right back to the center. Pause here. Point your toes. Tiny little circle. Forward and back. Forward and back. Just 2 more and 1 more. And then reverse. Back and forward. Back and forward. 2 more. And then hold. And then place your foot back down onto the floor. You're going to come up and over your ball, and then you do push off a little bit with that foot so that you can come up and over and find your side bending stretch. And this should be a feel good. Hold it here, and maybe you just want to stay here and this feels really good, or you can add just a slight rotation towards the ball, or a slight rotation up towards the ceiling, or just hang out with your basic side bending stretch. Stay here for 1 more inhale. And exhale, come all the way back up. Good. All right, so now we're going to come back to hands on the ball. All right, we're going to do a little modified cat-cow here. So we're going to start with the ball just up in front. Inhale first. Exhale, you're going to tuck your chin, and it's like you're rolling yourself down, and then you're going to push that ball out with your hands until you can come out into this position where your hands are comfortably resting on top of the ball, and you can get a nice long line from your tailbone out through your fingertips. So I'm not working hard to like hold myself on the ball. My arms are just resting there. Stay here, inhale, and then exhale. You're going to start by finding that low belly to tuck the tailbone, and then you start to stack yourself back up, 1 vertebrae on the one below it, until you come all the way up. Inhale first. Exhale, drop your chin, start to press the ball out, and then lengthen into that nice long spine. So for a lot of us, this is going to be a deep shoulder stretch as well. Stay here and inhale, and then exhale, tuck that tailbone under and stack yourself all the way back up. And we'll do it 1 more time. Inhale first, and exhale, drop your chin, roll that ball out. Hang out here and inhale, and exhale, tuck the tailbone, and roll yourself all the way back up. Good. All right, so now from here, we're going to do a thigh stretch. So you're going to take the ball right up in front and hold on to it. So your knees are going to be about hips width distance apart. They can go a little bit wider, and then your ankles are just lined up back behind your knees. Good. So the first piece here, a lot of us are going to be really archy here. So the first piece is just to connect rib cage to pelvis, just like we did on that earlier half lunging stretch. Now the ball out in front is going to make it a little bit harder, but we're keeping connected rib cage to pelvis, straight line from your knees up through the top of your head, And now you're just gonna bend the knees as you hinge back, keeping that straight line. You'll feel the quads start yelling at you and then come right back up. So all that has to happen is your quads need to lengthen to allow you to go back, but your core is firing so hard so you don't arch the back, and come right back up. Just gonna do 3 more of these, hinging back and up, 2 more, and up, and last one. Really stay connected, ribcage to pelvis, and all the way back up. Ball comes right back down on the floor. All right, I'm gonna back up a little bit here because we're coming back onto our stomach on the ball. You're gonna need a little bit more room out in front. So we're coming back onto our stomachs, and then I'm gonna walk out just a little bit. So I've got the tops of my thighs resting on the ball, and my hands are right beneath the shoulders, spreading fingertips wide, spreading my fingertips, palms pressing down into the floor. So again, I'm making sure that I'm not gonna let my back arch here, but I'm gonna connect rib cage to pelvis so that I have that straight line from the top of my head out through my heels. So there is a little bit of work to hold my legs up here so they don't just flop over the ball. So everything's firing. Holding here, all I'm gonna do is just shift my weight back slightly without letting my heels drop, and then shift my weight forward up over the hands, feeling the shoulder girdle fighter, all of my core muscles working to stabilize so I don't collapse as I come forward, and then back. And shifting forward and back, and again, forward and back. Just gonna do that one more time. And back, and then I'm gonna walk myself back. Good, so if putting weight down onto your wrists is an issue, the modification for these is gonna be to put your forearms up on the ball. So forearms on the ball. So right now I have a nice long spine, so I'm not rounded or anything here. I've kind of hinged at the hips to send my tailbone back. I'm gonna start here, tuck my toes underneath, and just barely float my knees up off the floor. Holding that nice long spine, core firing, shoulder girdle working. So we can do holds there, or if you want to make it a little bit harder, kind of a lot harder, I think, you're going to do the same thing but with straight legs. So send one leg back and then the other. So holding right here. So just a plank, it's just a forearm plank on the ball, but the instability of the ball makes it a whole lot harder. So that's a great modification for the next one. So you either doing forearm planks here, or we're going to take ourselves out a little bit further. So a little bit less of your leg is on the ball. So I'm right about at my knees, still spreading fingertips wide, pressing palms into the floor. So first we're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to shift back and forward. So I've come out a little further than last time. I feel like I can control it here, but if you went out a little bit further and your form fell apart, just go back where you started. So a couple options here to make this harder. The first one is to stay here, do a push-up, and then come right back up. Do a push-up and right back up. The further you are away from the ball, the harder that's going to be. All right, next option, stay here and inhale, and then exhale, lift the low belly, pull the ball all the way in towards your nose, and then come right back out where you were. And again, lift the belly, pull the ball all the way in, use your exhale, and right back out. One more like this, pull it all the way in, and right back out. Good, so if you're feeling okay here, you can put those together. So you're gonna go ahead and do your push-up and press up. Pause here and inhale. Exhale, pull the ball in, and inhale as you lengthen it out. And then down to your push-up and up. Inhale first, exhale, pull the ball in and out, and pause, and then down to the push-up and up. Pause and inhale, exhale, pull the ball in and out, and again pause, down to your push-up, pause and inhale, exhale, pull the ball in and out. One more time, down to your push-up, pause here and inhale, exhale, pull the ball in and out, and then walk yourself all the way back. Good. We're gonna do one more here. So on this last one, if you have been modifying with the forearm plank, for this last one, you're gonna modify going back to on your stomach and just doing opposite arm and leg lifts. Otherwise, we're coming back onto our stomachs where we just were. You wanna be not too far out here, kind of where we were there. So now I have a nice straight line from the top of my head out through my heels. I wanna keep that straight line. So I'm gonna push back towards the ball, but my heels are gonna rise, so I still have that straight line. And then I'm gonna pull right back up over my shoulder, or over my wrists. So send the ball back, and then pull myself up and over. Send the ball back, and pull up and over. So it almost feels like you're diving into the water here, and then you just pull the heels of your hands back to the ball, shoulders pull away from your ears. Whole time holding that nice long line, so the shoulder joint is the only thing moving here. 2 more times. And up and over. And last one. And up and over. And then walk yourself back and come off the ball. Good. All right, so we are going to go now onto our backs again. So similar to what we started with, but just everything a little bit harder. So let's start again with our heels up on the ball, and then pause for a second and just let the shoulders kind of relax open, and then just take a second to kind of reverse the wrist on each side. And you might even just do that just to give those a break, and then let your arms rest down by your side. All right, so now we're going to press the ball all the way out. So remember when we did those articulating bridges at the beginning, the further out the ball is, the harder the exercise is. So decide where you think is a good place to start here, because we are doing more bridges. Arms are down by your side. We'll go with palms turned up. Shoulders are rolled open. We're starting in a nice neutral spine position. So maybe do a little tilt forward of the pelvis and back, and then settle back into neutral. So chorus firing, we're in a nice neutral position, arms down by our side, shoulders are relaxed. To come up to a bridge, we just press into the ball and lift our hips up. That same straight line from the shoulders out through the ankles, and then we just relax our glutes to let us right back down. Inhale as we lift the hips coming up, and exhale, let the hips drop right back down. 2 more like this. Inhale, coming up to a bridge, and exhale down. 1 more time. Inhale, lift to the bridge, and exhale down. Good. So you can stay right there, or we're going to make it harder, okay? So on the next level, we're going to inhale, coming up to the bridge, keeping the hips lifted. On an exhale, pull the ball in towards your seat. Inhale, let it back out. Stay connected, ribcage to pelvis, and then drop your hips right back down. So inhale, lift your hips. Exhale, pull the ball in. Inhale, send it out. Exhale, drop your hips right back down. 2 more like that. Inhale, lift. Exhale, pull the ball in. Inhale, send it out. Stay connected here, and then just hinge back down to the floor. And again, inhale, lift. Exhale, pull the ball in. Inhale out, and exhale down. So those are pretty hard. You can stay there, or if you just really want to do something even harder than that, we're going to just go up and then hold it up and come in and out a bunch of times. So again, you're going to inhale and lift. We want to make sure we keep this shape here from the hips up. This shape doesn't move. Exhale, pull the ball in, and then inhale, lengthen it out. Keep your seat lifted. Exhale, pull it in, and inhale out. Exhale, pull it in, and inhale out. 5 more. In and out. Toes are pointing up towards the ceiling, so there's no rotation going on, just pulling in and out. 3 more. In and out. 2 more. And out. Last 1. And out. If you can, pause right here. Inhale. Exhale, drop the ribs, and 1 vertebrae at a time, lay your spine all the way down. Very good. All right, once you get there, you can pull the ball all the way in. Good, so we're gonna let both legs start out just resting on top of the ball, and then we're gonna take the right leg and lift it up off the ball. Take your hands behind that right thigh, and then let your right foot rest on the ball. So you're very relaxed here, nothing's really working to hold you here, but I do want you to refine that neutral spine again. So both hip bones are pointing up, you have a little space under the low back, and you're supporting the back of the right thigh. Now slowly straighten the right leg, but only as far as you can without flattening out your low back. And then lower the right foot right back to the ball. And then again, slowly straighten the right leg. You'll feel your hamstring stretch start to kick in, but don't let the back flatten and pull in really far. And back down. 2 more like that. Slowly straighten and let it bend. And straighten just until that hamstring has had enough, and right back down. All right, this time go back up where you just were and hold. So you're holding on to that position, and then pull your toes towards your face. Feel the calf stretch, and then point your toes. Pull the toes towards your face, but you're not changing the position of the hip or the length of the hamstring. And point. 3 more like that. Pull and point, pull and point. Let's do 1 more and point. All right, so now we're going to keep the right leg where it is. However straight or bent it is, that's where it's going to stay. It's not going to get any closer. It's locked in right here. We're going to use our core to walk ourselves up the right leg. So you're going to inhale first, and then exhale. Start to walk up that right leg. Pause at the top. Inhale, pull your toes towards your face to get a little more calf stretch, and then exhale, walk yourself back down. Inhale first, and exhale, walk yourself up your leg. Inhale, toes towards your face, and exhale down. So again, if this piece isn't working for you, just keep with that basic hamstring stretch we were already doing. Inhale here, and exhale, walk up your leg. Inhale, toes towards your face, and exhale down. And then you can let that right leg just rest on the ball. Take that left leg so the heel's on the ball, and your hands are behind your left thigh, interlaced. And then just make sure everything's relaxed here. Pelvis is level, right to left, and you have a little bit of space under your low back. Now slowly straighten up the left leg until you feel your hamstring tell you that's enough, and then let it bend. And again, straighten it up, and let it bend. 2 more, straighten and bend. 1 more time, straighten and bend. So this time go right back up and hold it there. And now you're going to pull your toes towards your face, feel the calf stretch, and then point. And pull towards your face, and point, pull, and point. 3 more, pull, and point. 2 more, and 1 more time. Good. So now we're just going to keep that left leg where it is, and then walk right up the leg using our core. So inhale first, and then exhale, start to walk yourself up. Inhale, reach towards those left toes, and then exhale, lower yourself right back down. It's really tempting to pull the leg towards you, but I want you to keep it where it is, so make your stomach muscles do the work. Inhale first, and exhale, walk up that leg. Inhale, reach for the toes, and exhale down. 1 more time. Inhale first, and exhale, walk up. Inhale, reach for your toes, and exhale down. And then let your left foot rest on the ball. Good. So now you're going to push the ball out a little bit further. Good. So not too far out, like your calves are just comfortably resting on the ball. We're back into a neutral spine position. Bring your right leg up to tabletop, and then take that right ankle, let it rest on the left thigh, and then slowly open your right knee here. But I want both hip bones to keep pointing straight up. Don't let your pelvis turn to the right. So you're going to start to feel a little bit of a stretch on that right hip. And then you can use your left leg to start to pull the ball in. Keeping neutral spine, notice that as you pull the ball in, the stretch on that right hip builds up, and then you can let the ball back out again. And again, exhale, pull the ball in, feel the stretch on that right hip build up, and back out. And again, pull it in, and then hold right here. Good. So now from here, you can stay right here. You can even keep going out and in if that just feels like kind of greasing the joint is working for you. Or you can take both hands behind the left thigh, And then once you're there, it makes your shoulders kind of go forward. Try to let the shoulders relax here. So now you're supporting that left thigh. Your right elbow's here to press that right knee out a little bit further. And you could even pull the ball in a little bit more. So wherever you are, I want you to feel that right seat stretch. Notice that if you flatten out the low back here, it takes the stretch away. If you hold yourself in neutral and then pull the knee in, you'll get a much better stretch through the right hip. And once you're there, if it feels good, maybe even rock back and forth, side to side a little bit, just to massage that right hip. Good, we'll stay here for one more inhale and exhale. And then you can send the ball back out. Place your right foot on the ball. Bring the left leg up to tabletop and then turn it so the left ankle rests on the right thigh. Turn the left knee out. And again, both hip bones keep pointing up. We don't want the pelvis to turn when we open up that left knee. And then once you're there, you're going to pull the ball in using your right leg. Feel the stretch build up on the left hip as you pull the ball in, and then let it out. And again, pull the ball in. Feel that stretch build up. And let it out. And one more time, pull it in and let it out. So you can keep doing that in and out if that feels good. Otherwise, you're going to pull it in and hold. Take both hands behind the right thigh, interlace. Once you've done that, let the shoulders sink towards the floor again. Your left elbow's right here to press that left knee out further. And you can even pull that ball in a little bit more, holding on to neutral spine so you're really catching the stretch over the left hip. And then just relax there. If it feels good, you can even rock side to side. But only if that feels good and is enhancing the stretch. If that feels awkward or uncoordinated, then just skip it and go back to your hold. And we'll stay here for one more inhale. And exhale. And then slowly release the right thigh, send the ball all the way back out. Good. And then you're going to put your left foot back on the ball and bring the ball back in. Okay, so this last one is a more advanced abdominal exercise. So if you just know that that's not for you, you can just skip ahead to our final stretch, or you can go back to where we started with just the balls overhead, with just the arms overhead. But otherwise, we're going to take the ball into your hands. Good, so I'm going to have the ball going straight up to the ceiling. Make sure you have room to send it overhead. Maybe a little bit more. All right, so ball is straight up to the ceiling. I'm starting here in a nice neutral spine. I'm going to bring the right leg up to tabletop and then the left leg up to tabletop. So now that I have both legs in the air and the ball overhead, I'm going to sink that low belly towards the floor, trying to imprint the spine into the floor. I don't want any more space to build up under my low back. So whatever I do, I'm not going to let the low back arch. I'm going to keep the abdominals connecting ribcage to pelvis, trying to imprint the spine towards the floor. So from here, I'm going to slowly straighten up both legs. Doesn't matter if they're perfectly straight, whatever your straight is, just make sure you haven't allowed your back to arch here. And then just gently, I'm touching the ball to do my legs wherever it hits. So head and shoulders are relaxed on the floor, and I'm not working hard to hold the ball, I'm just kind of pressing it towards the legs. This is already a bit of work here. So I'm going to keep the ball where it is, just slowly lowering my right leg towards the floor, but only as far as I can without my back arching, and bring it right back up. And then same thing with the left, slowly lowering it. So I have to keep sinking my belly so that I don't let the back arch and right back up. Now I cannot get my leg all the way down to the floor. Maybe you can, but don't feel like you need to. If you get to here and you know that you're starting to arch, then just pull it right back up. Doesn't matter how low it goes, it matters how much work you're feeling through your core. And again, and down. I'm just going to do one more each. And again, notice I'm not working hard through my upper body. I'm just gently pressing the ball to the thighs and back up. Good. So now I'm going to stay here and inhale. Exhale. I'm going to lift my head and shoulders slightly, put the ball in between my ankles, and lower myself down. Now the arms are going to go overhead, but I'm not going to let my ribs flare. Arms back to the ceiling. On an exhale, I'm going to lift up and grab that ball. Bring my ankles together. Toes are slightly turned out. Now I'm holding the ball here, and I'm going to slowly lower both legs, but I can't get very far without my back arching. That's all I do, and then come right back up. I'm going to lift up, put the ball in between my ankles, and lower down. arms go overhead, but I hold the ball where it is and back up. And then I reach up and grab the ball, ankles together, slowly lower my legs and right back up. And then lift up. So that's a good level for me. The next level would be now with the ball in between my legs to lower down only as far as I can control and right back up. Grab the ball in my hands, and then with the ball in my hands, arms overhead and right back up. And then reach up and down, lower only as far as I can control and up. Grab the ball, ankles together, ball overhead and back up. And then I'm just going to hug my knees in and rock back and forth a little bit. Good. And then we're just going to finish up with one more stretch. So I'm going to bring my feet down and then just roll to my side to come back up. And we need to end up sitting on the ball one more time. So I'm going to sit up, making sure I have room again in front. And we have two stretches here we're going to do, one for the chest and one for the whole spine. So starting out here and sitting, I'm just going to do another little range of motion here just because it always feels good after all that rounding we just did. And then come back to the center. So now from here, we're going to roll right back out. On an exhale, I'm going to tilt the pelvis and roll out. Now this time I'm not looking for this perfect bridge or anything. I just want my head and shoulders really comfortable up on the ball, and I can even let my seat drop just a little bit here. Both arms up towards the ceiling, and then I'm going to open both arms out like a T. So this should be a good, comfortable stretch. If your shoulders are tight enough that this is not a good stretch, you're just going to go open and close, each time opening as far as feels comfortable for you, and then close it right back up. This should be like the feel-good part, so don't let it hang here if it's an unpleasant feeling. But what we're looking for is just this nice opening through the chest. Take a couple breaths here, and then you can even use your feet to just gently press forward and back. It's going to change the stretch slightly. Good. Stay here for one more inhale. And exhale, arms back to the ceiling. And now this time we're going to send them up and over, and then I am pressing through my feet to let myself really extend up over the ball. Good. So again, depending on your shape and the size of the ball, this exercise is going to look very different. So if I pull myself back a little bit, that stretch is going to be higher up through the spine as my arms come up and overhead. If I really press through my feet, I'm going to get a lower spine extension, and I'm going to make sure that I'm really letting those hip flexors open. You can even get your hands to the floor if that feels good. But play around with kind of what feels like the stretch that you need here. And I would spend as much time as feels good, but when you're ready, the arms come back to the ceiling first. The hardest part is getting up. You need to inhale first, and then exhale, tuck the chin, push out with your feet, and roll yourself all the way up. You might want to repeat that once or twice, and then we are all done. Thank you.